services or treasury management systems or ERP and banking
Yeah, but
integration.
wouldn't they
So they have
have
local teams.
but wouldn't they have teams overseas where their headquarters would be located? Or do you just think they're going to completely close house, shut down overseas, and move to America?
So a lot of companies like having local teams just because they can manage like cash flow better and they
Okay.
can manage their
Well,
treasury better, like cash management better. I
here,
work in
here
finance, so
here's a
I
big
deal with
issue.
this every day.
Here's a big issue though. Is I don't think tariffs are going to drive more manufacturing to this country. Do you want to know why?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, no, I have an open mind, so I'm kind of like, nuanced and understanding of things, so I'm not close-minded. So yeah, go ahead, man. I'm curious.
Sweet. Can we agree that he's trying to use these tariffs as leverage to negotiate better trade agreements with other countries?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, and that would imply that we have to be willing to let go of these tariffs. They're not permanent, and we don't know how long they'll stick, right?
Yeah, I agree with that too. I don't think he's
Yeah.
doing a good job at negotiating with other countries.
But let's just rewind to what I just said. So we just
Yeah,
agreed
yeah.
that Donald Trump's tariffs today are not permanent. We don't know if they're here to stay, and we don't know if they'll stick because they're being used as leverage to negotiate better trade agreements. This won't drive more manufacturing to America for the reason being that if these multinational companies are going to spend billions of dollars in 3 to 6 years into building their production plants in this country, they're going to have confidence that those tariffs are here to stay, right? But they can't have confidence that those tariffs are here to stay if they're being used as leverage to negotiate better trade agreements with other countries. So, in other words, because Donald Trump is using these tariffs to negotiate better trade agreements, the tariffs cannot be used as a tool to drive countries producing their goods outside of America into building production plants inside of America.
Yeah. Yeah, I follow what you're saying. What do you think about the manufacturing like hub, like in the East Coast? So, in the West Coast, like a lot of manufacturings in the early 2000s were outsourced to other countries, but there's still like a manufacturing hub. Like Honda has some manufacturing here,
Can
Toyota. These are Japanese multinational corporations
can you
that.
respond to what I just said? I mean, I just
Oh,
completely
sorry,
disputed.
I didn't understand. I didn't understand your question because it was
More
a
so,
multi-part. It
it
was a
was just a response
multi-part.
to your argument. So your argument was that you support Trump because his tariffs are going to drive more manufacturers to move outside of America to inside of America, and I detailed how no, that's wrong. Okay, and the predominant reason why it's wrong is because these manufacturers operating outside of America have no confidence that those tariffs are here to stay. So they would have no confidence in spending billions of dollars in 3 to 6 years to build their manufacturing plants here. Not to mention that the immediate short term repercussions, as you like to put it, of the tariffs have been very bad. They're barreling America towards a recession. They're inflating the value of the dollar. And now we have the chairman of the Fed saying that these things are going to happen too. Same thing with the Atlanta Fed. We have JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, which are all predicting very bleak outcomes of these tariffs to do with what I already pointed out of a recession for this country, alongside the first argument that I gave you, because producers outside of this country have no confidence that the tariffs are here to stay. They'll have no incentive to move their manufacturing into this country.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Okay. So do you have any other reasons why you support Trump?
Uh, it was more because of that, like, how income inequality mostly affects minorities, Black people, Latinos,
Yeah, I
and
do know that.
when a lot of the income is not distributed properly to these marginalized group, when things get outsourced, right? When professional services jobs, manufacturing jobs, a lot of things get outsourced to other countries, then there's less opportunity for those marginalized groups.
Okay, well, Donald Trump is, so Donald Trump's economic policy as a whole, right, is going to reduce the purchasing power of every single American that makes under $395,000 per year. Okay, that's according to the Institute on Taxation and Economics, and it further reduces the purchasing power of Americans who make less money. So, in other words, his policy is regressive in the sense that the less money you make, the more your purchasing power goes down proportionate to your own income, which, according to your own words and my beliefs as well, will disproportionately disenfranchise marginalized communities. So, if you care about marginalized communities in America, you wouldn't have voted for the guy who has policy that will literally redistribute wealth from the poor to the rich. And you probably should have voted for Kamala Harris, who wanted to cut taxes for 100 million American workers in the low and the middle class, while giving increases to the child tax credit, which was projected to reduce childhood poverty by upwards of 40%.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Dean, just to be fully transparent, I did vote for Kamala. I was just taking the other side, just entertaining that idea, just to see how Trump.
I appreciate you for coming up. We are really just looking for debates with Trump supporters, y'all. Please don't do that. I want to make sure that the people I'm debating actually do support Trump. What's going on,
Hello,
Swervy?
Dean.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
I'm so sorry. I just don't believe you. If you're one of the 7.6 thousand people watching and you support the Trump administration, go ahead and drop a MAGA down below in that comment section. We're going to get you up here for a conversation, y'all. So everyone, go ahead and just give us a minute. What's going on, Marley? Do you support Trump?
No, I accidentally pressed the button. I'm so sorry.
No worries at all, Marley. No worries at all. Let's go ahead and see who that next guest is. Let's try to get Adam loaded up into the stream. And while we're loading Adam up, I want to thank Amber for the $20 donation over on PayPal for the 7.7 thousand people watching. Let's get some W Ambers in that chat, as well as Allison for the $50 over on PayPal. Thank you so much for the love, Allison. 500 Allison W's down below, and 150 W's for Wendy with a 15 bucks over on PayPal. Thank you, Wendy, Allison, and Amber. You guys are awesome. And fellow, thank you so much for the galaxy. What's going on, Mr. Adam? Do you support Trump?
100%.
Oh my God. Why is that, Adam?
Well, first of all, you were talking about the tariffs. Maybe you should read a few more history books. And this country didn't have taxes at first. It was all raised on tariffs. If you remember the Boston Tea Party,
Right.
That's when we got our, we had the Revolutionary War and we got our freedom because of a 3% tax on tea. So that's what started it. We didn't have taxes until Abraham Lincoln started taxes to pay for the Civil War. And then after that, taxes disappeared again. Then when we started taxes, we had the Great Depression in the 20s. So what Trump is trying to do is lower taxes on all of us by using tariffs again, the way that tariffs were meant to be. And you have no knowledge of any of that. You just keep talking and talking points from liberals that pay you to do this.
Adam, whoa, okay. So, I mean, you told me a whole lot.
You've already been proven to be a paid person already, all right? So don't sit here and tell us that you're not, but you've already been proven by so many other creators.
Okay, who pays me?
Well, the DOC, the Democrats.
The DOC?
Not the DOC, but the Democrat Party has paid you.
The DNC?
DNC. There you go. The
Okay.
DNC has paid you. And so did they do
So Adam,
Harry,
do you want
Harry
to
also.
know something crazy?
Yeah, let's see.
The
What is
DNC
it?
doesn't pay me, and because the DNC doesn't pay me, there's no evidence that the DNC pays me. So when you say there is evidence,
you and Harry both have already
Adam,
been.
so let's try to work on our listening skills. While I'm speaking, you're listening. While you're speaking, I'm listening. Is that fair?
Let's go. That's fair.
So the DNC doesn't pay me, and because the DNC doesn't pay me, there's no evidence that the DNC pays me. And because there's no evidence that the DNC pays me, when you say that there is evidence that the DNC pays me, you sound crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Move on to your next one.
Why would we move on? I want you to try to produce the evidence, and then when you ultimately fail, you're probably going to crash out and leave, and it's going to be great.
No, I won't fail at any of this.
Okay, so then do it.
Well, it's already been proven by other creators how you and what's his name, Harry, whatever his last name is, both have received money from it.
Okay, so then show me the proof if it's so public.
Are you going to make me the screen leader? So you give me the screen?
I'll facilitate you with any means that you need to show everyone watching proof that I'm paid off by the DNC.
Okay. Well, let's just move on to the next part, and we'll finish that. The first part where you're talking about the tariffs, and we can move on to that. While I pull it up. I pull it up.
Okay. I guess
going.
before we do that, I just have a couple people to thank. Jay, thank you for the $10 over on Venmo. Thank you so much for the love, Jay. Everyone do show some love to Jay down below in that chat. As well as Mary, thank you so much for the $20 donation over on Venmo, saying 2040 Dean Withers for president. Maybe one day. I don't know, Harry. I don't know. But thank you so much for the love, Mary. Let's get 200 Mary W's down below in the chat. And Lindsay, thank you for the $5 donation over on Venmo from the DNC. Let's go. I guess we are paid by the DNC. Thank you, Lindsay. As well as Beat, that is BEAT. Thank you for the $25 donation over on PayPal. Show some love to Beat down below. And then Ann with the $25 donation as well from the DOC. Let's go, Ann. Show some love to Beat and Ann. And then Brianna, thank you so much for the $5 over on PayPal. And O with the $5 on Venmo. And Tanner for the $10 on Venmo, saying from the Friendly Department of Corrections, the DOC. Then G, thank you so much for the meteor shower, alongside Gwen with the $10 donation over on YouTube Super Chat, and Parker with a $5 donation on Venmo from the DNC. It seems like maybe you're right, man. Maybe I am being paid by the DNC. Look at all these donations from the DNC coming in here, Adam.
Now let's go. So go off on my tariffs thing, since you were talking about tariffs before, and I'm looking up the information that you were talking about earlier. So let's go ahead and you reply to that portion of what I just already said.
Okay. Well, I mean, all that you said is that I don't know my history and in the infancy of our country, we were reliant upon tariffs, and somehow that's supposed to dispute my claims that tariffs hurt us today. Here's what I have to say. Tariffs.
How do tariffs hurt us today when we're the ones that pay out the most in tariffs?
So tariffs hurt us today when we impose them on other countries because A, it starts trade wars with other countries, which inevitably hurts our own exporters. When Donald Trump bumped up the tariffs on China in his first administration, it bankrupted so many American farmers that he then had to bail them out with $25 billion sent through Congress. And B, it makes the raw materials that we use to produce goods inside of America more expensive, alongside making the literal goods imported into America more expensive. So Americans pay more for the bare necessities to live. And this has a regressive, disproportionate impact on low-income Americans, since they spend a greater proportion of their income on those bare necessities to live. Not to mention the most obvious negative consequences of his blanket tariff so far, which has been crashes in the stock market, and the fact that America is barreling towards a recession and there's not a single reputable body of finance that disagrees. I'd say that does negatively position our country and the people in it.
Okay, well, let's reply to that. First of all, what's the percentage of our stuff that really goes to China?
Our exports?
Exports. How much do we export to China?
I don't know.
That's right. You don't know. China is the country that takes the least amount of our exports. Other countries do. And already South Korea, not North Korea, South Korea, India, Thailand, Taiwan, all these countries are already coming to the table to take over importing into the U.S. what China does. So now China's economy is hurting, and they've already had to change their dollar around because of the tariffs. And Trump, what he wants to do is make tariffs here exactly the same for everybody, which will help the United States in a whole. Other countries have already committed to bringing their industries here, 2 out of Canada, 1 out of Korea. So I'm not sure where you're getting your information from. These countries already gone to 0 to no tariffs to low tariffs with us.
Well, I have a question. If there's so many countries that have agreed to go 0 to low tariffs on us, implying that we'd go 0 to low tariffs on them, why would producers outside of America commit to moving into America? That makes no sense.
Tax breaks.
For tax breaks, so they're going to pay lower taxes in our country?
Exactly.
So then why are they here already?
Well, because we had liberals running this country that all they want to do is tax corporations. You just said it yourself that Kamala Harris was supposed to lower taxes. No, Kamala Harris talked about raising taxes, especially on the wealthy and especially on corporations. Now, what happens?
Okay, so can I respond to that?
Wait.
You said I can't respond to that?
You said when I'm talking, you'll listen. When you're talking, I'll listen.
I mean, to be fair, I did ask if I could interject.
Okay, you can interject when I get this last part out of it, okay? So corporations don't pay taxes, okay? Anybody, Walmart, any of them, they don't pay taxes. You know who pays the taxes? We do. So as soon as we put a 28% tax on a corporation, they put that on their product that they make, and the consumer pays that. Okay, with tariffs, they're negotiable. With taxes, they're not.
Okay, so can we agree that in Trump's first administration under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, he cut the corporate tax rate from, 35% to 21%?
Exactly.
5%? Okay, so then how come we had higher prices under his administration than Obama's?
Well, there is a such thing as inflation, but the inflation was super slow until Joe Biden got into the office.
You're pivoting.
And then
you're pivoting. No.
No.
I just told you what I said. No. Because you said that when we increase the corporate tax rate, it's inevitably paid for by the American consumers, and because the American companies pass it down to the American consumers. So how come when we cut the corporate tax rate by over 10%, prices went up?
Okay. Now let's go back. There's always inflation. Now the percent,
but inflation is
hold on. I'm talking now. Go by your own rules. I'm talking now. Go by your own rules.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be an inflation every year. The percentage of the inflation varies. Now the percentage that was under Trump was less than what was under the Biden administration, and there was inflation over the Obama administration either. So don't act like there wasn't any inflation at all. There's always been an inflation, always. There's never been a deduction in the inflation.
Okay,
correct?
So you're saying because there was a higher level?
Incorrect?
What?
Is correct or incorrect? There's never been a deduction in inflation. There's always been low inflation. Really?
Yeah, so sometimes deflation can occur during recessions. I mean, this has occurred in
Recession.
15 out of the last 16 recessions, deflation. In fact, the only time when deflation does not occur in a recession is when you have stagflation occur, which is very dangerous. The last time that happened was with the oil crisis in the 70s. But hey, let's also point out the fact here that you told me that there's higher levels of inflation under the Biden-Harris administration. I have a question. How did they cause that?
Well, let's see. Stopping all the, what was it? The Keystone Pipeline was one of the reasons. Anytime, what's the one product in the world that touches everything that we do? Oil. It touches everything we do. 100%.
There's one reason.
Yeah, that's one reason.
Okay.
Okay. The other reason is the permits and everything that he stopped for mining, drilling, any of those other things for any kind of minerals or rare earth things brought up the price for everything.
Less drilling.
We started, mining as well. I live in Wyoming, where we have the biggest coal supply of clean coal in the world. Okay. So all this stuff that natural minerals and stuff that we get from the resources here in the United States, Joe Biden had put a stop to, and we started importing everything.
Okay. All right. So I'll try to respond to those first 3 points. So to your first point, saying that, he shut down the production of the Keystone XL pipeline and that caused inflation. So first and foremost, let's make sure we get our facts straight. When Biden and Harris shut down the Keystone XL pipeline, it was because of a Supreme Court order, and it was still in production, meaning they were not done with the construction of the Keystone Pipeline, meaning the Keystone Pipeline had no impact on overall oil supply, meaning when it was shut down, it didn't drive the price of oil up as it didn't impact the supply at all. So it couldn't have cost inflation, but let's assume that it did. You're about to contradict yourself. From what country did the Keystone XL pipeline import oil into America from?
Northern America and Canada.
Canada. It was a Canadian-owned pipeline. Don't dispute this, because if you go to KeystoneXL.com, they'll tell you they're Canadian-owned. So in other words, you're telling me that reducing the amount of oil that we import from other countries is a bad thing for America because it causes inflation. Sir, I have a question. Do you think that blanket tariffs on every single country in the world, including on products such as oil and gas, reduce the amount of oil that we import from other countries?
No, the stopping of drilling increased the amount.
Wait. So I just want to clarify. When we tell Canadian oil exporters that we're going to charge you 10% more for every single good you send into America, that's not going to reduce the amount of Canadian oil that's coming into this country?
What's the GDP that Canada gets from the United States?
I want you to give me a yes
Hold
or no
on.
here.
I'm going to answer. I'm answering you.
No. I want a very simple yes or no. Right? When we tariff oil imported into America, does that reduce the amount of oil that we import into America?
Okay. Well, like you said, I'm going to give you your answer, but I'm not going to give you a yes or no answer. Not every answer is a yes or no.
Yeah, not every answer is a yes or no, but this one is.
No. What's the GDP for Canada that they get from the United States? 57%. 57%. What's the GDP we get from Canada?
Once again,
I have no clue. Yeah, that's right. You have no clue. It's about 17%.
Great. So then answer my question.
So here's the deal.
Okay. Does the deal include you answering my question?
Exactly. I'm going to get ready for it right now. So using the tariffs will give a negotiating power with Canada, because without the United States, Canada goes broke.
That's not the question that I asked you. I asked you if imposing tariffs on Canadian oil does it reduce the amount of oil that we import from Canada.
That they can raise what they're going to do on that. They've already tried. They've lost.
But that wasn't the question that I asked you. The question was, if we impose tariffs on oil from other countries, does that reduce the amount of oil that we import from those countries?
Yes. It will reduce the amount.
Great. So in other words, now I'm going to make my point, Adam. No, because I'm still in the middle of making my point. It just took me around a minute and a half there to get the answer out of you. So in other words, you think that the Keystone XL pipeline reduced the amount of oil that we import into America from another country. Therefore, it's a bad thing. Mike, thank you so much for the galaxy. But when tariffs do exactly that, apparently now it's a good thing. I'd also like to point out that this contradicts a response that you gave further in your answer insofar as how you think the Biden-Harris administration caused more inflation in America. America, because you also told me that you think they slowed drilling in America, which meant we were more reliant on imports from other countries. But now you're telling me that when we reduce the imports from other countries, that causes inflation, which is a bad thing. So that's totally contradictory. But you want to know what else is totally false is the fact that we reduced drilling under the Biden-Harris administration. In fact, we have never produced more oil as a country than we did under the Biden-Harris administration. The most oil we ever produced under Donald Trump's first term was 12.9 thousand barrels of oil per day. And that was in December of 2019. And my source is the, what's it called? Somebody in the chat will help me out here. And that was in December of 2019. And we produced over that amount for a year straight in the Biden-Harris administration. And that's coming from the EIA. And then something else you said there that was false. What year was that?
Yes.
For which claim?
When they produced the most oil.
Yeah, sure. That was in 2023 with a buildup consistently month by month since their inauguration.
Okay, keep going.
And then something else there that you said was false. You told us that they did less permits. So the Biden-Harris administration actually approved 50% more permits for drilling on federal lands compared to the Trump administration. And my source there is going to be Politico Pro.
Political Pro. Okay. So let's go back to what you were just saying about the drilling and everything and where did the oil come from. Not all the oil in the Keystone Pipeline was from Canada, which is false because some of it was from North America, which I told you, which was
where North America?
The Bakken, our northern part of the United States, but it was from the Bakken. If you don't know what the Bakken is, it was from North Dakota. So the other thing that I'll give you for a fact is I work for one of the biggest railroads in the United States. And as soon as the Harris-Biden administration stopped all the permits and the drilling and everything else like that in the Keystone Pipeline, we went down almost 80% in 1 year from how much oil we were moving in the United States.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was actually just researching the first claim that you made. So the first claim that you made about it also importing accommodating very light crude oil from Bakken in Montana and North Dakota is actually true. So I appreciate you for correcting me. However, my point still stands insofar as that it was still under construction when it was terminated via an order from the Supreme Court, which means that it didn't increase the price of oil in America for the reason being that it didn't impact the oil supply. And then additionally, once again, what did impact oil supply is when Donald Trump imposed tariffs on every other country in the world. And apparently you support that there. And then my second point is still gone unresponded to. Once again, my second point is that Biden and Harris oversaw more domestic production of crude oil in America compared to Trump's admin. And one big reason why that occurred is because they approved 50% more drilling permits on federal land. And you told me that was false. You told me that was wrong. You told me they approved less permits and they were bad for crude oil production. And that is simply false. I mean, we have the data from the EIA, the Energy Information Administration, which reports statistics contradictory to your original claims. So I'd like you to apologize for spreading misinformation.
So I did look up what you said. I can't find anything about most permits, but I did find out in 2023 that they did produce the most oil. So as the same as you saying that I was correct about the Bakken, I'll say you were correct about that.
Wow, look at this, Adam. You know what? Look at that. We're having a pretty decent conversation here. Is there anything else?
I'm always open to learn everything. That's the difference on all this stuff. I'll research everything, and you can research too. And I'm glad that you did, and that you could see that we were getting oil. And even though that the Keystone Pipeline was not finished and it was still under construction, that was the southern part of the Keystone Pipeline, and we had offloading facilities all across northern America, in Wyoming, Colorado, things like that, where trucks, railroads were able to come in and unload from those places.
What is offloading? What does that mean?
Taking out of the pipeline and loading into trucks or loading into rail cars so that they can be moved all over the United States or to other countries via ports.
So that's probably like other sections of the Keystone Pipeline as a whole, not specifically the Keystone XL, because it was the XL that was shut down by the Biden-Harris administration via an order from the Supreme Court. And I'd actually also like to point that out. So like the reason why it was shut down was because the Supreme Court told the Biden-Harris administration to shut it down. And the reason the Supreme Court told the Biden-Harris administration to shut it down was because they ruled it as unconstitutional as it ingressed upon indigenous land without their consent. Not to mention, that it had a bunch of halts and shutdowns in its construction, including under Trump's first term in 2017 and 2018. And you didn't see the price of oil increase then, so why would it have increased under the Biden-Harris administration because of that either? And then I also wanted to ask you, feel free to respond to that if you want before you respond to what I'm about to ask you, but I wanted to ask you if you were able to find any evidence that I'm paid for by the DNC.
Yeah, and I'm looking that up still because I'm doing two things at one time.
Adam, I have an idea. I want you to do one thing at one time, and I really want you to find evidence for that claim. Do you want to go on mute for a little bit, and I could bring up another guest here?
Yeah, go ahead and bring him up. I'll come back in about, give me at least 10 minutes.
Okay, you don't even need to leave. You could stay on the live and just kind of go on mute, go to Google.
Okay, we can do that.
You know what I mean? You don't even need to leave. You can stay right here, and we could just bring somebody else up in the meantime.
All right, that works. There, I'll go on mute.
Perfect. All right, we're going to get our next guest up here. What's going on, Derek? Do you support Trump? Derek, you're on the live, man. Derek's not here. Oh, hi, Derek.
Hey, I'm here.
What's going on? You support Trump?
Hey, Barry. That was a good conversation there. I was intrigued listening to it.
I'll actually agree. Apart from his first claim that I'm paid by the DNC, which was absolutely atrocious, that was actually a pretty good conversation.
Do you know how could he have gotten that? Like, where do you think he got that information from? I'm not saying it's true. I just don't know. Like, do you have any idea?
Sometimes people lie for fun. I don't know.
Okay.
But Derek, do you support Trump?
I do. Yes.
Okay, all right. Before we hop into our conversation, there's a couple people that I want to thank. First and foremost, Connor. Thank you so much for the $15 over on Venmo. Everybody, please show some love to Connor down below in that comment section. Connor says, another day, more Dean Bean base, bro. Connor, I love you. W's to the only base Connor I know, dude. Huge shout out to Connor. Then Raquel, oh my God, dude, thank you for the $75 donation on Venmo. Everybody, 1,000 W. Raquel's down below. That is RACQUEL. Raquel says, you never miss, Dean. I love watching you educate the poorly educated. Keep doing what you're doing. It's so important. Raquel, thank you so much for the love. That is so incredibly kind of you. I mean, seriously, I do not deserve that at all. That's so much goddamn money. Thank you so much, Raquel. Then also Tony, thank you for the $15 over on Venmo, saying, yes, Dean, dude. Tony, thank you for the love. Everyone, shout out Tony. Shout out TK for the $15 as well, saying you're amazing. No, you're amazing. Thank you for the love. And then also heading over to PayPal. Madeline, thank you for the $6. And then here, let's see here real quick. Allison with another $20. Thank you so much for the love, Allison. Ada with a 2. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for the love. And then Derek, if you want to go ahead and take it away and tell us why you support Trump, feel free. Oh, Derek left. Unfortunate. We're going to go to get that next guest up here, but y'all please seriously show some love to the donors down below in that chat. I mean, like, seriously, that is crazy. I really do appreciate you guys. I do not deserve it at all. And just know that you guys are so incredibly kind. While we're getting that next guest up here, if you want to, support the stream, you could find my Venmo, my PayPal, and the link tree in my bio on TikTok, as well as it's in the pinned message of the YouTube stream. But also make sure that we are double tapping away in that phone screen, sharing out that live to help get the live more visibility. So hopefully we can have more Trump supporters willing to come in here and debate. And go ahead and drop a MAGA down below in that TikTok live comment section if you want to come up here and debate yourself. That's by far the very easiest way to get on the stream. So let's look for the next guest. All right, who's it going to be, everyone? Go ahead and just give us a minute here, y'all, while we are getting that next guest up on the stream. We're going to try to get Tyler loaded in, maybe Ethan. I don't know. Let's see who's next up. Everyone, do be patient here, y'all, and give us a minute. Drop a MAGA down below in that chat, y'all. Drop a MAGA down below in that chat, y'all. Still looking for that next guest, guys. We're really trying. I promise we're really trying to get some debates going. Looks like Ethan isn't joining us. And by the way, we're so close to 1 million likes. Holy cow! How the hell did that happen? That's crazy. What is MAGA? It means Make America Great Again, but not actually. It doesn't actually mean that. They just think it means that. All right, looking for the next guest. Where are they at, man? Where are they at, dude? I'm like seeing a bunch of people drop a MAGA in that chat, but then when I'm clicking on them, I can't invite them. So hop in the queue. Let me know in that chat. We'll try to get you up here. Maybe Big Al will join up. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see here, everyone. Let's see here, everyone. Just looking for that next guest, y'all. Who's it gonna be? We're gonna try to get Micah loaded up into the stream. Sorry for my bad posture, y'all, over on YouTube. It's just necessary to lean forward to see the phone a little bit better. Oh, shit, we got Micah up here. What's going on, Micah?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to request. I'm sorry.
No worries at all. What's up, Jet? You support Trump?
No, I don't.
Okay, bye, Jet. Everyone, let me know in that comment section if you're MAGA. Hop in that queue if you're MAGA. Just looking for some debates, y'all. I wish it was easy to find people to have conversations with me, but it proves difficult. What's up, Sarah? You support Trump?
Yes,
How old are you?
I'm 15.
Bye, Sarah. Just looking for adults. Guys, seriously, if you're one of the 7.8 thousand people watching, y'all, double tap on that phone screen, spam that comment section, and let me know down below if you're MAGA. Okay, we got the next guest. Adam loading up here. Let's see if we could get Adam connected. Oh, wait, sorry. I don't know why I called him Adam. Oh, it's because this other guest is named Adam. Nick, hey, what's going on? Do you support Trump?
What's up, man? Yeah, I do.
Are you driving right now, Nick?
Possibly.
I got to kick you if you're driving, but I mean, do you feel like pulling over?
I'm actually about to be home. Like, I'm turning into my neighborhood right now.
Hey, man, unmute your mic when you're home, but just completely stay off your phone. Just set it down, stay off your phone. Unmute your mic when you're home. All right, we're gonna try to get that next guest. We got Chris loading in here. Everyone, just do be patient. Do give us a minute. What's going on, Chris? Do you support Trump?
Yes.
All right, phenomenal. Real quick, there's two people that I got to thank before we hop into the debate. Sid, thank you so much for the $50 over on Venmo, Sid. Oh, Sid says, I lose a minute of my life every time you say you don't deserve all of this. Just know that, bro. Sid, I mean, I don't, but I don't want you to lose another minute off your life. Just know that I really appreciate you. Everybody, please show some love to Sid down below. Let's get at least 500 W's for Sid. As well as Gracie with the $100, bro. What the fuck? Oh my God. Oh my God. Dude, everyone, spam W Graces down below in that comment section. Grace with $100 says, thanks Joe and Kamala Harris for drilling the most amount of oil. Drill, baby, drill. Yeah, let's go, dude. Fuck yeah, Grace, dude. Show some love to Grace right now. So Adam left. So did that other guy. People are just cycling in and out. Just left with you, Chris. Why do you support Trump?
Well, a litany of reasons. I think the first has to do with the economy. I support his economic policies. I support his border policies, his DEI policies. And generally, I just think Republicans are better leaders than Democrats.
Okay. Where do you want to start?
I don't know. You pick. I give you three slots there.
I mean, I feel like the most obvious is probably to have a discussion about his economic policy, but we've been doing that all day. I don't think his economic policy is good. It's sending America into a pretty bad direction. And I'm unconvinced that you'd be able to give me a legitimate economic argument that it'll be good in the long term. I think that's more so a cope that rejects what all the institutions of finance are telling us. Maybe about his immigration policy, I think that Kamala Harris was significantly better for immigration than Donald Trump, because I don't think Donald Trump has any proactive long-term solutions to reduce undocumented migration into America. I think he's always just tried to put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound and has always been unwilling to address the root cause of undocumented entry into this country, because he wants it to continue so it could serve as a political talking point for the right.
Well, immigration, according to the White House, is down 99.2% as of 3 days ago.
Holy
so
shit,
I think that's
99.2 undocumented entry? Damn, I mean, I don't know how reliable that source is, but assuming it's right, I still don't think he's done anything to reduce undocumented entry into this country in the long term.
That is a long-term policy. You got to start with the short before you go long.
So what's the long-term policy that he's passed to reduce undocumented entry into this country?
He hasn't passed any policies. He's working on enforcement right now with putting people at the border and deporting, folks who are undocumented.
Yeah. I mean, I'd expect a massive drop in undocumented entry into the country right now because he's like illegally terminating asylum laws. He's ignoring orders from the Supreme Court to facilitate the return of migrants that he deported without due process. He's absolutely dehumanizing these humans. But I mean, I think that the root cause of undocumented entry into this country is slow, neglected, and depraved legal means of entry. And the only thing he's ever done surrounding the legal means of entry into this country is advocacy to keep them slow, to keep them expensive, to keep them in a state of being neglected by the American Congress. But here's what I will say. I heavily disagree with mass deportation. I think it places America last. I think it hurts the American economy. I think it hurts average qualities of life. And I think it hurts our government because it costs close to $100 billion per year just in opportunity cost. I mean, that is the dollar amount that undocumented migrants pay in taxes to our federal government every single year.
Yeah, well, opportunity cost in the way that you're framing it in the way that you're framing it would mean that there's actually more opportunity that we're missing out on, but there's no opportunity we're missing out on because according to the House Budget Committee in 2024, they did a study and they found $150 billion in output for illegal immigrants. So the downward pressure from the 98 billion is overtaken by the upward pressure of the 51 billion to be exact.
Great counter argument. Did you know that's purely propaganda, though?
How is that propaganda?
Yeah, for sure. Because the House Republicans' budget report, insofar as how much undocumented migrants in this country have cost our government, includes a litany of expenses for education for their natural U.S.-born citizens. See, that's the deal. Can you quantify and be very specific with the federal benefits that undocumented migrants specifically receive?
Yeah, there's 26 states that provide cash assistance, welfare programs, health insurance. That's 26 states, Dean. And they apply tremendous pressure on our criminal justice system.
Okay, so quantify and clarify what those programs are. I mean, I think I could state Medi-Cal in the state of California, which provides access to healthcare to undocumented migrants that fall below a certain income eligibility threshold. Can you name the other programs? I mean, I think that there's some type of food stamps specifically in the state of Colorado that are designed for underprivileged undocumented migrants. Can you name any others?
Yeah, well, I think the fundamental problem is that you don't understand all the programs that are out there.
I think the fundamental problem we're facing right now is you can't answer my question.
Yes, I can. I'm answering your question. Cash assistance is given in California.
Okay.
And
So what's the name of the program?
It's called Cash Assistance for Undocumented Migrants. 26 states practice some of these things, like giving health care, giving cash assistance. This is 26 states across the U.S. are getting downward pressure negatively by giving all these free resources to undocumented immigrants.
Okay. So yeah, it looks like there is a program called Cash Assistance Programs for Immigrants in the state of California called CAPI. This program provides monthly cash benefits to aged, blind, and disabled non-citizens who are not eligible for supplemental security incomes or state supplementary payment solely due to their immigration status. And yeah, I think I support that. But overwhelmingly, how much would these programs, such as the cash assistance program for immigrants, cost on a year-by-year basis?
The House Budget Committee said $151 billion, Dean.
That's not true. I want you to
It's a
qualify
combination of all the
specifically
state
these
and
programs.
federal.
No, because once again, the reason why we should not trust the reported numbers from the House Republicans is because that includes the expenses for access to SNAP and education for the naturalized U.S. citizens of undocumented migrants.
$46 billion alone in the U.S. is from the criminal justice system, Dean. It costs a lot of
house
money.
undocumented migrants in prisons?
No, not to house them, but when they come in here and they commit crimes, like the Department of Homeland Security in 2024 documented that there was 1,264 violent crimes. When they commit violent crimes and light people on fire and they go through the criminal justice system, guess what? We pay taxes on that, Dean.
And guess what? You pay more for the taxes to respond to the violent crimes committed by natural U.S.-born citizens because according to PNAS, undocumented migrants are 2 times less likely to commit violent crimes compared to natural U.S.-born citizens. It's funny that the money our government spends insofar as responding to individuals who commit crimes in this country is only relevant as it applies to a demographic in which is 2 times less likely than you to commit one.
That doesn't negate the fact that we spend $46 billion in our criminal justice system alone, Dean.
It also doesn't
They
negate
still
the
commit
fact that if
crime.
you want to deport undocumented migrants from this country, that's going to cost $175 billion in the first year alone. That's not opportunity cost. And once again, that's coming from your own source, House Republicans. And if you want to resolve the issue of individuals being in this country that have not been vetted by our government, what we should do is we should make the legal means of entering to America significantly faster. Okay, that's going to naturally disincentivize undocumented entry. Nobody wants to be in the country without a social security number, without a driver's license, without an ability to get a loan from a bank to put a down payment on a house. But you know what people do want is access to higher quality of life. And if the legal means to achieve that are easier, well, then they will. And then building off of that, what we also need to do is offer every single undocumented migrant in America that has not committed a prior violent offense a pathway to residency or citizenship, so they can continue to be productive providers and not cost, and without being, which will be good for the American economy because they'll continue to be able to pay taxes, continue to be able to work, and continue to be able to contribute to GDP growth. And if you care about violent crime, you probably shouldn't have voted for the rapists.
Okay, so you want to pivot. Those are two pivots away from the fact that
No, you could completely ignore that and respond to my claims about undocumented migrants.
Oh, no, I've responded to your claims with data and facts that the downward pressure is greater than the upward pressure.
And I've responded to the quote-unquote data and facts by pointing out that they're very misleading because the data and facts reported by the House Republicans include expenditure for access to SNAP benefits and education for the natural U.S.-born citizens of undocumented migrants.
No, it doesn't. This
Yes,
is
it does.
This specific report from 2024 was on undocumented migrants only. It was not on anything else, Dean. This was a solid report, $151 billion of downward negative pressure.
Oh, great. So then I want you to go and quantify all 151 billion of those dollars. You've read the report. You should know.
Yeah, I just told you 26 states, 46 billion with their criminal justice, 27 billion was healthcare alone. Like when an undocumented
So you're saying $46 billion for criminal justice, and
27 billion for healthcare.
Okay.
Free healthcare that we give them in ERs.
Okay. So in what states is that in?
Every single state, Dean, you can go into an ER regardless of your citizenship status and get care, and then the taxpayers pay for it.
You're actually very right. Yeah, anybody has access to emergency resources of healthcare in this country. But I'm not so sure that the number you're providing to me is correct because last year Medicare expensed closer to $17 billion for access to emergency resources for all uninsured people in America. And it's fucking funny that you think every single one of those was an undocumented migrant plus some. I feel like you're making that number up.
No, Dean, it's two different numbers. Medicare and undocumented workers in this study was completely different. It's 27
that's who expenses out.
alone.
That's who expenses out federal expenditure for access to emergency resources by uninsured individuals. And by the way, maybe, just maybe, if you want to reduce the amount of undocumented migrants that are uninsured and getting free benefits from hospitals and emergency rooms, you give them a pathway to residency or citizenship, so then they could get access to insurance in every single one of our states, sir.
Or maybe they could come through the legal means and legal ports of entry and do it the legal way and become citizens, Dean.
Very nice, Chris. See how we've been able to regress your argument to a point of not having a tangible, cohesive position that they actually serve as a detriment to this country, but it's just merely the fact that they entered in illegally and that's why they should be deported?
Yeah, they committed a crime and they light people on fire and they have more downward pressure on our economy.
Wait. Where's that second? So you're saying they light people on fire. Hey, Chris, you're a Nazi. You want to know why? Because I know at least one other white man that is.
What are you talking about? Like that's a
yeah.
straw
You're
man.
saying that you saw. You're saying that you saw a story on the news where one undocumented migrant lit somebody on fire. Therefore, they all, as a demographic, can be generalized as people who light others on fire. Well, guess what, Chris? You're a Nazi because I've read a story on the news about one other white man being a Nazi. So therefore, you are too, and I get to apply that generalization onto you as well.
How do you know his pronouns weren't they, Dean? That's a pronoun.
Chris, what?
How do you know his or they pronouns were not they, and that's what I was referencing.
So I have no fucking clue what this guy's saying.
Pronouns.
I'm just gonna be honest. Like instead of like just responding to the meat on the bone of me pointing out the fact that you're generalizing all undocumented migrants predicated on the actions of one to further dehumanize them, to further scare Americans into having and holding disdain for them, to justify your false, baseless beliefs predicated only on your own biases, and asking me about pronouns. I thought that people on the right didn't like to talk about those, but here we are. I think you should rather respond to my point specifically, Mr. Woke, by merely addressing the fact that if it's okay to generalize all undocumented migrants, therefore it's also okay to generalize all white men. Therefore, you're a Nazi.
Well, you're tripping over your words as you call me a Nazi. Okay, I do concede to that point that only one person lit someone on fire. I shouldn't have used the word they. It was in the heat of a discussion. I'm sorry, Dean.
Great. Anything else?
Yeah, I think Democrats are soft soy boys.
Oh, geez, Chris, I feel so offended.
I didn't want to offend you. I was just stating a fact in my world. Yeah, that's it.
Democrats are soft soy boys, but when I go on a live stream and tell people that it's probably not a good idea to support a president that wants to consolidate power to the federal branch, who has advocated for overthrowing the Constitution, explicitly calling for it, and who has personally tried to coup the outcome of a presidential election, I'm a monster.
I didn't say monster.
Who's more
Monster
soft?
implies dangerous. I don't think you're dangerous at all, Dean. You're a soy boy.
I don't know, man. I actually do think that people on the right are a little bit more soft. I mean, like, you guys like freak out and lose your shit when somebody asks you to respect their pronouns.
No, I never said that. I was respecting pronouns during this conversation, Dean. You're
think-
generalizing me.
So yeah, I'm generalizing the right because you generalize the left. I dish out what I receive.
Zinger.
So
Well,
why do you think I'm a soft soy boy, Chris?
Well, because I don't know. It's hard to explain, but you're very feminine. You know.
When you say that I'm feminine, are you what does that what does that mean?
It means like when I was in the army, for an example.
Do I just have like you just
like
look at me
men
and you're
were
like,
men. Men are men in the army, and you're like very. I don't know. It's just very.
I
feminine.
just like feminine, like what specifically? Are you trying to tell me
You
you
talk
like me?
more
Chris?
like a woman than a man. I'm
Is
gonna
it,
be
is
honest.
it, I talk more like a woman than a man because I actually believe we should justify what we believe in with fact and logic. All right, I'm more
using
emotionally
facts, logic,
mature
and
than
data
you,
to
and
prove that
typically
there is
women have
a
higher
distinction.
EQ and IQ scores on average. I mean, thanks for the compliment, man.
There's nothing wrong with women. I love women. I mean, but I'm just saying it's like it's
Yeah, well,
a strange.
they don't love you.
Oh,
So
okay, well,
hey, what does it mean to talk like a woman?
it just means like I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint. It's like
You can't pinpoint it because it's completely incohesive, intangible fucking bullshit. You're just kind of spewing words out of your ass, dude. And that's why it's hard for you to like explicitly and like verbally describe like what you mean when you say these things because you have no fucking clue. You're just talking to talk. You're mad because you got roasted in a debate, and here we are, you telling me I'm feminine. Hey man, I take it as a compliment.
I actually didn't get roasted. You sidestepped out of the facts and data that I was proving that there's more negative downward pressure from illegal immigrants than positive upward pressure.
Yeah, I've responded to that 3 times now, Mr. Chris.
No, you asked me for data and facts, and I gave you data and facts, Dean,
Well,
and then you
I've
pivoted
critiqued
out
the
of it.
data and the facts that you've given me. I promise I've read the House Republicans' budget report of the expenditure of $154 billion per year on undocumented migrants in this country. At first glance, it may be quite compelling to those that don't believe in reading the research papers that they cite when making a claim. But when you actually read it, you discover that they include expenditure on education and access to SNAP benefits for the natural U.S.-born children of undocumented migrants. But because you decided to pivot away from the debate into saying, well, Dean's a feminine soy boy, I no longer think this conversation is productive. Do you have anything else to add on before I move on to the next guest?
I wish I could turn on the sprinklers. All right, I'll see you later, Dean.
Have a good one, Chris. We're going to move on to the next guest, guys. If you're in that queue, make sure that you support Trump, y'all. Let's go to get that next guest up here right now. We're going to try to get Karen loading into the live, y'all. Everyone do be patient, y'all. Also, Trezzy, thank you so much for the $10 over on YouTube Super Chat. I think that is incredibly kind of you. Everyone, thank you so much for the love, Trezzy. Who is next, guys? Go ahead and drop a MAGA down below in that comment section if you want to come up here and debate. Dirt Bricks, thank you for the $2. Donnie with a 5, Beth with a £5, as well as Winnie, thank you so much for the $50 over on YouTube Super Chat. Oh my God, Winnie, I want to see 500 Winnie W's down below. Winnie says, it was so much fun to watch the videos of you humiliating Charlie Kirk and proving him to be a shameless coward. It made my week. Thanks, dude. Really, Winnie, I appreciate you so much for the love. Yeah, man. I will say, that was crazy, man. Him absolutely dodging me like that was one thing, but for my editors to then take that content and be able to take like recordings, like video footage from over 2 hours and condense them into a minute and promote like the message that was experienced, that this guy didn't want to talk to me at all. They did a good job. They did a good job. We are going to move on to the next guest, guys. Going to drop a maggot down below in that comment section if you do want to come up and debate, y'all. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. All right, guys, where's that next guest at, y'all? We got Mary loading up into the queue. Hey, Kennedy, thank you so much for the $20 over on Venmo. I appreciate you for the love. Kennedy says DNC dollars. Thank you for the love, Kennedy. Everybody, please show some some love to Kennedy down below, as well as Ann with the $20. Thank you so much for the love, Ann. Please, please, please show some love to Ann, as well as Wendy with a 15 and Jamie with a 20 as well. Shout out to Ann, Kennedy, Wendy, and Jamie. What's going on, Mari? Do you support Trump?
Oh my God, I didn't mean to join, but Dean, I love you so much.
Man, I really do appreciate you for the love. That's very kind of you. We're going to go to get that next guest up in here. Everybody just go and give us a minute while we're getting that next guest loaded into the box. We're also going to go and get Isabella loaded up into the live. What's going on, S? Do you support Trump?
Hello.
Isabella, do you support Trump?
Hi. I just want to say I really love you.
I appreciate you for the love, Isabella. We are just looking to debate Trump supporters, though. But I do appreciate that. I really do. All right, let's try to get that next guest, Gray, loading up in. If you're one of the 6.8 thousand people watching the live stream, guys, make sure that you're double tapping away on that phone screen for me, y'all. Let's try to get up to 2 million likes. What's going on, Mr. Gray? Do you support Trump? Gray is not here. All right, we're going to move on to the next guest. We're going to try to get Karen up again, I guess. It looks like Karen's back in the queue. What's going on, Karen?
What's going on, Karen?
Hello.
Age, please.
Age, please.
I am 64.
All right, you're obviously not, as well as you got an echo, so we are going to move on, y'all. Please stop trolling me, bro. Just looking for some debates. Moving on to the next guest, y'all. Where are the Trump supporters at? They seem very scared today, quite frankly, very terrified. Very terrified. That's right. Very terrified. That's the truth. That's the truth. Everyone be patient. Give us a minute, y'all. Hey, Jamie with the $20 already. Thank you, but I'm just reading off your message now for scaring Charlie Kirk, bro. You're so awesome. Also, Allison with another $20 saying almost 8,000 in the live and haven't been kicked yet. I know, bro. I mean, we did get a flag. Viewership is seemingly has some downward pressure, so I wouldn't doubt it if we get kicked off soon. Hey, it is worth really pointing this out, y'all. If we do inevitably get kicked off live, the first place I want y'all to go is to my YouTube stream, which you can find through the link in the bio. What's up, Yas? Do you support Trump?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I am 18. I was born in December 2006. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but so I wasn't able to vote for him, obviously.
Oh,
but yes,
good. So why do you support the current administration? Let's have a chat.
Well, I just see Trump as a more dominant candidate. I think he really fucks her ass. Mainly, sometimes in the pussy.
Get out of here, dude. Moving on to the next guest. TikTok, please don't take me down for that. We kicked them off real quick. That's what y'all want me to do, and that's what we did do. So don't punish me for some absolute loser coming on the live. What's going on, mister? Do you support Trump?
I do not, but I can try to get you some.
Based. Samantha, thank you for the $10 on PayPal, saying really appreciate your work. You are not going to read the rest of that. Thank you for the love, Samantha. Very kind of you. We got the next guest loading up into live. Here we go, y'all. Wow. Hey, if you're a Trump supporter and you're just looking for a good faith conversation with somebody that disagrees with you politically, let me know in the comment section. We'll get you up here. Apparently, there's not many of them today. What's going on, Mr. Period? Do you support Trump? And they're not here, bro. What is going on? Where are all of the Trump supporters at? Where are they at, man? Because they're not here, right? So where are they? Where are they? I don't know. What's going on, Jack? Do you support Trump?
Hey, Dean.
What's going on? What's going on? Do you support Trump?
Oh, sorry.
Do you support Trump, Jack? Okay, Jack just left. They're running. They love the comment section. They love the comment section because in the comment section, they can say whatever they want. They could say whatever they want. Nobody will check them, but they can't do that on the live. So that's why they stick to the comment section. Hey, Nat, thank you so much for the $20 donation over on YouTube. Saying, love you, Dean. Please don't ever stop. Nat, I really appreciate you so much for the love. That is incredibly kind of you. Huge shout out to Nat. Well, where's the next Trump supporter? Man, we've been looking for a single human out of like 6.5 humans. 6.5 thousand humans that supports the current administration for like, I don't know. What are we at? Like 15 minutes now? Why is that so hard? What's up, Tom? You support Trump?
Indeed.
Indeed. Mr. Tom, age, please.
18.
Yeah, what year are you born in?
2006.
Whoa. Wait. Tom, bud, what time is it?
12 o'clock.
Get out of here, Tom. Moving on to the next guest. All right, who's next? Guys, stay out of the queue. Stay out of the queue. Quite frankly, please stay out of the queue unless you're here to debate. Hello, Destiny. Do you support Trump? And Destiny's not here, so we're going to move on. Here we go, everyone. Who's next, bro? Because apparently it's not going to be a Trump supporter. Oh, my God. Unreal. I mean, dude, imagine standing in front of a group of 6.4 thousand people. And there's not a single soul that will come up and talk to you. I feel very lonely. Hello, Cash. Do you support Trump? See, look at that. Look at that. And then when people do load in, they kind of just get stage fright and don't say anything. Wow. Hello,
I have a question for you.
Do you support Trump?
I have a question for you.
Do you support Trump?
I do and I don't.
Well, how old are you?
Huh?
How old are you?
17.
You got to be 18 to be on live. It looks like the kids, they're pretty willing to come up here. Not the adults. Hello, Eric. Do you support Trump?
Yes, I do.
Eric, why is that?
I support Trump. Wait, I can't have my camera on?
Like preferably not.
Why? You were just complaining about people having stage fright. I'm having like the opposite, and you're like neglecting it.
You can turn it on. It's fine. You can turn it on.
All right. So I support Trump because I feel like he is a less controlled population. So like every other capitalist is only focused on running their own pockets. Meanwhile, Trump is actually focused on lining the pockets of the American people.
Eric, that's just simply false.
How?
The Institute on Taxation and Economics reports that every American that's in the bottom 97% will have less purchasing power because of his economic policy. He is only furthering income inequalities in this country.
Right, but purchasing power isn't the only thing that dictates how well an economy is doing, and also...
But it is the only thing that dictates how much money you have in your pockets.
Right, but the amount of money doesn't really matter if like the cost of things go down. So like that also doesn't have to do with purchasing power. Purchasing power is what you can buy with the amount of money that's in your pocket, not really the amount of money.
And that's the only thing that's relevant.
Yeah, so with the amount of what you can get, with what you can buy, yeah, it will go up and down and it'll fluctuate. Right now, it's going to go down because we're in a point where the economy needs to rebuild. So we're in a rebuilding stage. There's going to be a recession. And then once we get down into the recession, there's going to be a trough. And then we go up into a peak. That's how it cycles.
Okay, I want you to prove to me that that's not mere speculation equivalent to being an anti-vaxxer by giving me a cohesive economic argument to demonstrate that the long-term outcome of Donald Trump's policy now will be a total net positive.
Well, I can give you this. Based on everything that he has been doing so far with all of the things that he has been passing, like where he's adding all these tariffs and everything like that, where there's going to be new jobs coming into America. These new jobs will allow for more income for the American citizens.
Once again, this is all presuppositional.
Right, but you're cutting me off. Let me finish. So having more jobs coming into the economy, it is presuppositional. You're not going to, let me not sidetrack. Let me finish my point. So, my fault. So all these new jobs fluctuating into the economy will allow for more people to have money in their pockets, like you said, but the money is going to be less valuable because our currency is going down the... Can I curse?
Fuck.
Okay, so our currency is going to be going down the shitter, especially with things like the Brink system coming up and the U.S. not being the petrodollar anymore. Very soon, like our economy is looking like it's going down, down, down. So all we can do is get more jobs into America.
Eric?
We get more jobs into America. With these more jobs into America, the cash flow is coming in. It's going to allow us to have a more stable foundation for when this recession hits. All I'm saying is Trump is good for America because he is allowing for us to prepare for the recession that is coming. He's not going to be able to stop it. He's not going to be able to change anything that's happening. All he's going to do is be able to help us better prepare for it. Meanwhile, the Biden economy, the Biden economics were only focused on lining the pockets of the rich so the rich can better prepare for it. They can get their assets for even cheaper, even earlier.
Okay, the recession that is coming is only happening because of Donald Trump's policy. Fun fact, okay, the Atlanta Fed, which is a bank of the Federal Reserve, they were the first ones reporting a recession this year, negative GDP growth. I want you to guess what their prospect on GDP growth in 2025 was on the day of Trump's inauguration. Take a guess.
That's a rhetorical question. So
No, it is a very literal question. Their prospect on projected GDP growth in the first financial quarter of 2025, this right now, during the inauguration, was at 4%. Positive GDP growth, okay? But it's only when Trump came in, Trump instituted his blanket tariffs, Trump decreased consumer confidence, Trump pulled foreign investors out of American markets, Trump is sending America towards a recession. If Trump was not president today, if the 49.9% of Americans didn't vote for him and voted for Kamala Harris, America would be prospering. America would not be heading towards a recession. So don't act like it is anybody's fault outside of Trump's. And I'll also have you know this. You said that Donald Trump is building more jobs in America today to prep for the recession. One of the massive indicators, right, of a recession right now is huge layoffs. Donald Trump is not causing an increase in jobs in America today.
Okay. So I would say this.
Oh, then also one last thing. You told us that the Biden and Harris administration, their tax code, essentially better off the most wealthy Americans at the expense of the average American.
Yeah.
Guess what? The tax code that was implemented during their administration was signed into law in 2017 by who? Trump. In fact, it is literally called Trump's tax cuts, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
I mean, I was more so talking about I'm not really big on the actual, like.
You were talking about taxes, but you weren't talking about taxes. Got it.
Yeah. No. I wasn't talking about the tax code. See, I was talking about taxes, not the tax code specifically.
What do you think taxes are regulated by?
Hold on. Hold on. One of my friends has a huge crush on you. Is cheesed on you. She wants to say hi.
I don't have a crush on you, but you're amazing.
Well, I really appreciate that. That's very kind.
So
of you.
normally I'd be having these debates with her. She's more on your standing. I be doing these all the time for fun with everybody in my college. So it's
Okay, Eric. Well, I mean, I guess let's try to respond to what I just said.
Let me lock back in.
So you told me that the taxes under the Biden-Harris administration redistributed wealth from the poor to the
So
rich.
that was
the taxes under.
Yeah, that was a blunder on my fault.
Okay, so what did you mean to say?
I was more so talking about the Bidenomics, what they be talking about.
Biden, about the policy they passed.
Yeah, the policies and everything that they were doing, just what they were doing.
Well,
I don't know the exact
let's play a game to
details
test this
on what
theory.
they were doing, but the after effect of what they did, I can see, and I can see that it wasn't really good. And also, I want to say the NASDAQ, we can look at the NASDAQ before, during the whole Biden administration, and then you can watch it during Trump's administration. You can watch it go up during his administration.
What? No. Markets are down 7% since his inauguration.
I didn't cut you off not one time. Let me finish. It has recently taken a big dip after all these tariff nonsense and everything that's going on, which is to be expected after a big economic decision like that. But it's going to go back up. But as soon as he took office, it shot up and then it shot back down after all these policies and things happened. We're just waiting. If it doesn't go back up, then I would agree with you that he had a plan that completely failed. But you got to give him the time. You know what I'm saying? It's still too early on to see if he's actually, because when he did initially take office, it shot up immediately. So he was doing stuff right. And then it's to be expected after something like this that it would tank.
That's just literally not fucking true. So I just want to make that incredibly clear. No, anybody could go on Google, look up the NASDAQ composite. What you see is that it was stagnant from the day of his inauguration with a little bit of some downturns, but general stagnation for the next month until February 19th, where it then started to steadily go downhill. By the way, this was all before he signed his blanket tariffs into law. So from February 19th until April 2nd, right, Liberation Day, the NASDAQ composite steadily went downhill. But then on Liberation Day, huge fucking dip. So I want to make it so incredibly clear that since the inauguration, the market has gone down, right? Specifically the NASDAQ composite by around 9 to 10%. So don't act as if he's been good for American markets, because that is a lie, 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 lie. Now, I would also like to point out here simultaneously, you told us that the Biden-Harris administration fought for the rich. He's fighting for the average American. That's just not fucking true. In fact, Kamala Harris wanted to cut taxes for 100 million American workers in the low and the middle class, which included increases in the child tax credit, which would have reduced childhood poverty by over 40%, right? And she was going to pay for it by increasing taxes on the rich. She had offered a 7% increase in the overall corporate tax rate. So I'm going to need you to walk that claim back. Now, if we want to talk about Trump's tax cuts, they were significantly more expensive than what Kamala Harris proposed, as well as 80% of the cuts in the bill went straight to the top 1%. And when we compile that with his tariffs, which serve as a regressive tax, right, which reduce your purchasing power the less money you make, right, we see that in accordance with his tax policy, overall economic policy, anybody making under $395,000 per year will be worse off insofar as possessing less purchasing power. It was obviously the case that in the 2024 election, Kamala Harris was better for the average American compared to Donald Trump.
I mean, but like that's speculation. You keep talking about speculation,
It's not
but
speculative.
it really is. Like, she hasn't been able to take office. So how could you say that she would have been better for the American people if you don't know that for a fact? How do you know that she wouldn't have had a completely different economic policy?
For sure, because her economic policy just literally included cutting taxes for the average American. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's economic policy effectively increases taxes for the average American.
Right, but what about the stuff that he's doing with Doge, which is lowering the taxes, and he's also taking away? This is speculatory, but he's working to try to take away the income tax, which is the whole point of the tariffs.
So first and foremost, how does Doge cut taxes?
Well, it's because he's finding all of the discrepancies that the U.S. is spending in, which will allow for a lower budget, which would mean they would need less money, which would mean that they could cut.
So Trump's whole idea is use Doge to cut like $85 billion out of cancer research so he could justify spending $8 trillion on tax cuts for the ultra wealthy, and that appeases you. But when Kamala Harris ran on policy that was overall less expensive for the American people and would have been better for national expenditure and debt in the next 10 years, apparently she's the bad guy. It makes no sense. Even when we factor Doge into account, Donald Trump wants to spend so much goddamn money on cutting taxes for the ultra wealthy that our country loses money. Not to mention that because we're heading towards a recession, well, what happens in a recession? GDP growth goes where? Down. What happens when GDP growth goes down? Government revenues go down. So not only does Donald Trump want to spend more than Kamala Harris, but he's also decreasing government revenue.
So let's stick to the Doge for a second, because you like the blunderbuss, and I like that. I love it. Like, I really do love it, but I'm too fried and I can't keep up with this many topics. So I just can stick to the Doge right now. So Doge, you said like they're cutting billions of dollars from cancer research, but like you failed to like look at the stuff that they're actually finding and cutting. What about the $1 billion that they found in Social Security being paid out to dead people?
What about the director of Social Security that said it never happened?
The director of Social Security, the director of the office that is losing $1 billion is saying, oh, no, that didn't really happen. We didn't actually lose $1 billion. And you're trusting that?
Well, I trust it specifically significantly more than Doge, who has falsely reported like over 15 contracts worth millions and or billions of dollars, claiming that they've cut this expenditure when it never existed in the first place. I'd highly implore you to investigate that. All that you got to do is go to Google, type in New York Post, Doge falsely reports deductions in government expenditure, and you'll be given their lengthy reporting on the topic of how Doge has falsely reported government contracts that they've quote unquote cut. Well, in all reality, they never existed in the first place. But I don't expect you just to trust the New York Post. What makes this reporting reliable is the fact that in response, Doge took these fake government contracts that they claim they cut off of their website.
All right, so let me ask you this. Do you believe that our government spends our tax dollars properly?
Fuck no.
All right, so we can agree on that. Do you believe that finding a way to cut the way our government is spending would lower taxes.
How about we just say like better? Like, do I think it'd be really a good thing if we could have like a board to investigate government expenditure, so we could be very clear with where our government is spending our money? Absolutely. Like, I agree, ideologically speaking, with the Department of Government Efficiency. In fact, I
You
think it's
just
a
don't
fucking
agree that-
great idea. But the
You just
issue
don't like
here,
that it's Trump doing it.
no. Listen, the issue here isn't the idea that is supposedly underpinning the Doge, but it's rather the way in which they are executing upon that idea. Okay? Because when we consider that they're not merely cutting funding for means of government efficiency, or else their first priority would be looking at the Department of Defense, the DoD. They're instead using it as a tool to enforce and suggest their power, to claim they're cutting efforts of DEI, when in all reality, they're harming very real people by cutting, like access and funding to cancer research. And on top of that all, even if we were to make a consideration for every single dollar that Doge says they can cut from our government expenditure, we still would have had less overall government expenditure under Kamala Harris, because Donald Trump's expenditure applies more upward pressure on government expenditure than Doge provides downward pressure.
And look, we can agree on that right there, especially with the Department of Defense. And this is like, these kind of conversations brings this kind of information to the people's eyes, because most people aren't going to go back and forth and have this conversation to get to this point where they could be like, all right, yeah. So both sides got good ideas. Nobody's executing it properly.
But we need to take a step in the better direction. Government expenditure would have been better under Kamala Harris.
I don't believe so. I believe it literally.
Wait. The Congressional Budget Office, reports that all of his policy is going to cost $10 to $15 trillion in government expenditure. Meanwhile, her policy was estimated to cost $4 trillion.
I didn't mean to start this. Hold on. I don't think she would have ever actually done it. I feel like that side, I don't think that any other Republican would have done it either. I think Trump is just so stupid, so crazy, and isn't doing the shit that he's supposed to be doing. He's just doing shit that he can. There are people manipulating him to get certain things done. There is a narrative being pushed, but Trump is doing random shit that is not supposed to be happening. Like this department, like the Doge department, it's not supposed. Like they're not. The government's not supposed to be getting checked on their spending. This was never
Eric,
supposed to happen.
I have an idea, and I want you to prove my idea wrong. Are you ready? I think you're talking out of I think that actually got me a restriction earlier. I don't think that you're really thinking before you're speaking. Okay, and the reason why I say I don't think you're thinking before you're speaking is because I just detailed how Kamala's would have been better for government expenditure simply because her policy was projected to cost less. And then your response to that was to say that you don't think she would have done it. Done what specifically?
Like had a Department of Government Spending.
Okay, well then you're just not listening to me. So she didn't run on having a Doge. But what she
No,
did
I
run
know.
on,
That's
her
what you're
policy was less expensive than Trump's, even when we factor Doge into account. Think about it this way.
Right.
If Doge could
but
cut, listen to me. If
I was
Doge,
just trying to clarify.
please just listen to me.
Go ahead.
If Doge could cut $2 trillion from government expenditure, which by the way is the maximum goal set by Elon Musk, okay, that seems like a good thing on the surface. Well, what if, in order to get Doge to cut $2 trillion from government expenditure, we had to elect Trump, who wants to spend $10 trillion on all of his new policy, meaning that at the end of the day, we're still in the red $8 trillion under Trump. So now we have to do this evaluation to determine how much we would have been in the red under a Kamala Harris presidency. Well, we know she wouldn't have cut much spending. She didn't run out of Doge. So how much did she want to spend? Closer to $4 to $6 trillion. So what's better for government expenditure, right? Being in the red $4 to $6 trillion or being in the red $8 trillion? Overall, being in the red $4 to $6 trillion is better, meaning that Kamala Harris's administration would have been better, even though they didn't run on a Doge.
Okay. Now, so there was just a misunderstanding. What I thought you were saying was that her doing Doge, would have been better because hers would have been cheaper and then she would have been able to run it efficiently. I didn't know that you were saying her plan in general was just better, excluding Doge. I thought you were making a comparison on if she did it.
Basically, what I'm saying is that Kamala Harris without Doge is better for government expenditure than Donald Trump with Doge.
All right, but government expenditure, sure, I can give you that. But what I'm more so talking about is the cultural impact and just the way that it affects the actual people itself. Look, so
Cultural impact?
yeah, because look,
Well,
culture
I'm pretty
influences-
sure that
culture
Donald
influences the
Trump's
economy
cultural
so
impact
much.
of like widespread acceptance.
I'm not
of,
talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about just of having the Doge itself. Now we're talking about Doge still. Remember?
Okay,
I'm
so
talking
you're
about
basically
just
saying
having a
virtue
Department
signaling.
of government efficiency. Because, like, let's say Donald Trump comes out of office, and this is still going to be a thing.
Okay,
the
so
next
so
people
what you're
take
telling me
office,
is that
it's gonna
virtue
be under-
signaling and so what you're telling me is that virtue signaling and spending more money is better than not virtue signaling and saving more money.
No. Because they're saving money
Everything goes for the
regardless. And
galaxy.
it's speculatory. You're saying that that's exactly what would happen. That's not guaranteed. But like, I can allow in good faith.
Wait.
we can
No.
get down
That's
that
so
far,
fucking
that Kamala
disingenuous of you.
would
That
get to
wait. That
point.
is so fucking disingenuous of you, Eric. The argument that you were just trying to run before I started speaking was that the long-term impact of designating the existence of Doge now will be an overall positive benefit because it will exist and extend beyond the Trump administration, which is purely fucking speculatory. And in fact, we have reason to not believe that because there's a similar department established under Obama. Where the fuck did that go?
Remember how you were
But
talking
you turn around and tell me that I'm speculative for basing my research and my beliefs off of the CBO, the CRBF, and other various institutions of finance, such as the Institution on Economics and Taxation. That is so disingenuous of you. We're
Remember
both having
how
a
you-
conversation. Okay, you got something to say,
Remember
so you
how
want to
you
interrupt
said
me.
you don't think?
Jesus
I
Christ.
don't think before I talk. I think you just did that right there.
No, I didn't.
Because what I was trying to say was, it's speculatory, but I'm going to argue in good faith and say, yeah, we can do that because everything I just said was speculatory.
Right, but the issue with your speculation,
I was already going to say that,
the
bruh.
issue with your speculation is that it's baseless, and we actually have reason to believe it's false because there's a similar department established under Obama. What the fuck happened to that after Obama left office? You're interrupting
Doesn't
me
matter.
again.
Doesn't matter.
Yes, it does matter when you're trying
First
to
of
make a
all, for you to
speculatory.
say that,
Wait,
you had to
Eric,
interrupt
stop
me. So
interrupting.
yes, I
I'm
can
about to
really
kick you. I'm about to
interrupt you.
remove you from my live stream.
A little bit of comp and you remove? That's crazy.
No, bro. The reason I want to remove you isn't because you're giving me comp. It's because you're interrupting me every 5 words. Let me speak.
Hey, man. All right. Can we hug? I just want to make up real quick and then we can restart. Let's just hug. All right. I feel better.
That's
Let's do
so
this.
insane. Anyways, to go back to what I said, see, your speculation is baseless. And in fact, we don't have any reason to believe that it is the case, as there's a similar department established under Obama's presidency. It kind of ceased to exist when he left, not to mention that what I am reiterating to you is not simple speculation, as it is based upon a preponderance of fact, reason, and projections from Institute on Taxation and Economics.
Type shit. So, I'm sorry, bro. Your grin be getting me, bro. Because it's like, I don't know when you be trolling. Because I know, like, you got that oomph. But, like, you don't oomph. But, like, you be oomphin'. And I hope that can, like, really reflect. I hope I just vocalized what I was trying to say properly. So, back to the point. I definitely agree. And really, I don't take either side. I don't take either side of the argument. I just been doing this all for fun. I'm not into politics at all, for real. I don't take either side. I feel like it's all controlled opposition. It's all run by the people who own all the companies. You know what I'm saying? But like, I had a whole bunch of fun. You're smart as fuck. How the fuck do you remember all this shit?
What the fuck? I'm usually prepared for that. I like have to put myself in like a headspace to like be prepared. I completely had my guard down there. That was very unexpected. Anyways, wait, according to some people in the chat, oh, he was half black. Wait, was that like clear on his account? Sorry, I honestly I thought that he was white, but he was biracial. Oh, he was biracial. Okay, yo, Eric, hop back in that queue, bro. I'm sorry, dude. I thought that you were just some white boy, like saying the N word. That caught me off guard. Hop back in that queue, Eric. And he's back. Let's clarify with Eric. Let's clarify with Eric real quick. Yo, Eric.
Man,
Are you a white boy?
no, I'm half black and half Mexican.
All right, thank you. Thanks for. Sorry, Eric. I'm sorry. My bad, bro. I'm sorry. Welcome back to this. Welcome back to the stream. I hope that you understand my shock and my abundance of caution.
Nah,
welcome.
It happens to me all the time. I get it.
Oh, thanks for clarifying. Go ahead.
Hey, but yeah, you smart as hell. How the fuck do you remember all this shit, man?
Honestly, damn. Now I gotta remove you, Eric.
I got flagged. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, Eric. Peace out. That was TikTok TOS. It wasn't me, I swear. But honestly, it's just like a lot of like research to begin with, but then a lot of repetition of what is research on these lives. Like, I don't know, like if any of y'all are in school, you know how like, you know, you'll be recommended to write it down on flashcards and then like repeat until you really know it well. Well, that's like essentially what I do with the information that I share in the lives, because I have like similar conversations quite frequently. Yo, that guy was chill though. He'd make a really good dim. I really hope that you end up listening to your roommate or your friend, whoever was with you. You'd be a very chill live. All right.